Welcome, everybody. It's April the 10th, 2026. Hello, Danny. Welcome.
Hey, Jason. Hey, everybody.
I appreciate you joining me tonight. I thought it'd be a fun time for you to join me. It's been
Hey,
a
I
while.
look like a real podcaster, man. I've got headphones tonight. I've got the real mic. It's real. It's not fake.
Well, I appreciate it. You sound better and you look better, and that's a good-looking hat. I like it.
Yeah,
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody being here. I really do. If you're tuning in from wherever in the world, like and subscribe, please. Like and subscribe. I'm saying it early. Please do that. It means a lot. I need people to subscribe because it makes me feel really good. And it helps the algorithm, and it's just a good thing. Phyllis, I can't thank you enough. Your generosity is overwhelming. And I want to thank you. Dropping us a little bit of money to the podcast and helping us out, and that's very kind of you to do, and I do appreciate it. And I told you don't do any of that, but it is appreciated, and it'll go to the equipment and to the fund towards this podcast. So thank you very much. Boy, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be going live, and this guest tonight is it's going to be a lot of fun. It's Stuart Haskin. He's from California. Yep, he wrote that book, Get Safe. And Stuart, I'll give his bio here shortly, but I know I'm California heavy, but I'm from California, so I have a soft spot for California, and I can't help it. If people are making a difference throughout that state, it's a big state. I'm going to bring them on here, and our guest from last week, who's Gale Bleth, she immediately recommended him, and that was good enough for me. And so I wanted to bring him on here and so forth. I wanted to talk about a little bit of a heavy subject, though, before we get rolling tonight. And that is we had a trooper that got killed, Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. And that's him. It's Vernon Brake. And unfortunately, on Wednesday afternoon, close to noon, basically a car that had a mother and her 4-year-old daughter in the vehicle had careened across and went through those cables, which, those cables that are on interstates, and you'll see them all over the place. Generally speaking, they usually do a really good job keeping a car from coming across. And while this trooper was traveling on the interstate going the other way, that car came straight over and struck his police vehicle and killed him. And it also killed the mother and the daughter. It's one of those freak accidents. Tragic. And it's tragic. It's tragic indeed, and it's really, really sad. He was a 20-year veteran. He had a wife and 2 children. And OHP is. I throw this in here because my son is actually in the OHP Academy right now. He has just completed week 5, and so that was a very moving moment for him. And I'm from my father was a California Highway Patrolman, so it's kind of in my blood a little bit. So. Just a very, very sad situation. I wanted to read a quick deal that was posted today in reference to the 75th Oklahoma Highway Patrol Academy. They have completed one of the most demanding phases of training, which is known as Green Week. Designed to push cadets to their physical and mental limits, Green Week tests resilience through sleep deprivation, high stress scenarios, and intense physical challenges. Cadets completed the week by rucking to the top of Mount Scott, a final test of endurance and determination that reflects the challenges they may face in the field. Afterwards, the cadets visited the location where Trooper Nikki Green paid the ultimate sacrifice to place a brick from the 75th Academy, a tradition that began years ago. Green Week is named in honor of Trooper Nikki Green, who was killed in the line of duty on December the 26th, 2003. His legacy, I remember that day actually. His legacy is a constant reminder of the courage, sacrifice, and determination required to serve. Green Week is more than training. It is a test of character. It reinforces the mindset that no matter the challenge, Oklahoma State troopers must be ready to respond. And they also wanted to honor on their post. They wanted to make mention that they wanted to honor Trooper Vernon Brake, who was tragically killed this past Wednesday in a traffic collision. His service and sacrifice will never be forgotten.
Prayers for his family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please continue to keep the Brake family in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with this absolute tragedy. And Amanda, go ahead and show that video real quick from that I'd say. I wanted to share. Yeah, it is. And I wanted to share that with everybody because my son, I finally got to talk to him for the first time in 2 weeks. And he is, that was a moving, they ended up getting all the cadets together and they shared that they're going to be going to the funeral this week. And my wife was like, well, that may make them want to leave. And I said, no, that's actually going to drive them to want to do this even more. And I'm glad to see it. I have mad respect for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. It's one of the agencies out there that has the most camaraderie that I've ever seen with respect to a law enforcement agency, at least in this state. And like I said, I wanted to share that. I think that's very, very important.
I got chills over that video, man. That was golly.
Well, I'm glad I was able to keep it together. Amanda, show that one picture with the red circle around the cadet. I just wanted to, that's my son right there.
Oh, wow.
And he's bald in that picture. Yeah. It runs in the family. What do you do? What do you do? But I did have a chance to talk to him for about an hour and 20 minutes right before this podcast, and I can't tell you, I don't want to tear up because I'm telling you, I am so proud of him and just him being able to make it through this week. It's absolutely a tremendous experience. And anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm a little moved by that because I'm just so very proud of my son and all the cadets, and they're down to about 48 now from 63. Oh. It's grueling. It's grueling. Trust me. He went to the hospital for a knee injury, and but he's doing better. And good. So hopefully he keeps doing his thing. So,
that hits home for you in a lot of ways, Jason. With your dad and your son, and then being a police officer.
Yeah, and my nephew, and this happened in Oklahoma City, and my nephew he's 21 years and about 5 minutes old, and he works the streets for the Oklahoma City Police Department. And so I'm really, really proud of him as well. And cool. So we've got all the law enforcement agencies, the biggies covered in the state.
That's right.
And so, but listen, I want to get to this. I don't want to keep this guy waiting because I really want to talk to him about, I know that's a heavy subject and I'm sorry to bring that up, but it's just, I have to remind people this job is a calling and it's really it's a lot. And that is a freak accident. I don't think that there was any intention on this. It's not that there was I doubt there was alcohol involved at noon. But it's just one of those things that it was just a freak accident. And
it's so dangerous working on those roads. We have several interstates up here, and we've had so many close calls, and we've had people killed working accidents on the scene. I cringe every time I go out there and have to work a scene.
They're horrific, especially traffic fatalities, because people are on their way somewhere and et cetera. But so anyway, I want to talk about Stuart Haskin. Stuart founded Get Safe over 40 years ago to build safer, stronger communities through inclusive safety training. His programs have reached over 500,000 people. That's incredible. And that includes survivors, individuals with disabilities, students at risk youth, law enforcement, and corporate teams. With 25 years as an Orange County Sheriff's deputy as a reserve, and that's for free, ladies and gentlemen. That's a quarter of a century that this guy has dedicated his life to work for free as a reserve officer for that agency, and that's pretty cool. And he has a background in security and certifications in crisis intervention, sexual assault, and domestic violence counseling. Stuart is a recognized expert in violence prevention and recovery. He brings real world experience, martial arts experience. As a matter of fact, this guy's like a karate sensei. I mean, he's got like 4 black belts in various disciplines. And he brings real world experience, martial arts expertise, and a passion to motivate people to make change in their lives, be their best self. Amen to that. And help those who may have lost their voice and be a voice for those who do not have one. Welcome. Welcome, Stuart. I appreciate you being here.
Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you very much. And I mean, it's so cool to see your son following your steps. And, you know, when we lose an officer, it's just so sad. It's, you know, but they have its sacrifice above self, right? And I've always admired the highway patrol because they're out there pulling over blacked out windows. They're out there alone, you know, and I've always felt like I talked to a chief, and one time I said, I mad respect for what you guys do out there, because that is a highway out there. But thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Steph.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I really do. Yeah. And Stacy's in the house. Karen, thanks for being here, Karen. She's from Georgia. We got a lot of regulars in here, and we're watched throughout the. Christy, thank you for being here. Thank you for the prayers for my son. Yeah, he needs them. And Phyllis, of course. And let's see, I just want to touch upon a few other people that I just don't want to miss. Anne, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Kathleen from up in the Pacific Northwest, and Tammy and Chris, and I could go on and on here. And I probably will mention some of you as we go. You have a podcast too. We'll talk about all that. But first of all, you're from California.
I am. Sorry about people who are not California friendly, but I get it.
There's a lot of great people that live there for sure. And it's not the same place it was when I was in there in the 70s. I left in 1982. But so tell us what interested you. Tell us kind of a little bit about your background growing up there, and what interested you in to start out, whether it be this or law enforcement, whichever was first.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I never knew exactly why my direction went this way. And at times I tried to get out of this safety world, right? But I kept getting bounced in. So I do feel a level of destiny in a sense. Like I would take up a new cause and I started to go back to safety. And I think it probably stemmed from, as a younger kid, we were going to get ice cream, and we were jumped by a bunch of teenagers, and I think that just molded me to be, they say you either become maybe a victim or a predator or a protector. And so I kind of went overboard on the protector thing. I started training martial arts. I started, then I became security personnel as we were talking about working in clubs as a collegiate wrestler. And just every aspect of my life has been about trying to help people, who can't protect themselves, and give them tools too, and trying to be advocate for them. And so it just started there. And then the de-escalation came from working at a young age in clubs and security work, whether it's big arenas or executive protection, because we have a saying at Get Safe: communication plus connection equals safety, right? So when you communicate with someone, whether it's a negative or positive, you know what connection you have, and then you can go from there to evaluate it. Like, in law enforcement, right? You walk up to someone and how you start off, and those are the classes we teach, and I also can bring a civilian part to what I'm doing. Posture is big, right? We wear those tack vests, right? And our hands are usually here. And why is that? To take the weight off our traps. But I've had so many civilians say, oh, they had their hands ready to fight me. I go, no, it's almost an orthopedic vest. It takes our hips and everything. And so be able to communicate that to law enforcement, to say, hey, you've been in law enforcement your whole life, but this is what the civilian sees. They see a gun on you. They see a baton. They see pepper spray. They see a taser. Those are things that are intimidating to a lot of people, and it affects your communication. So I know I just kept evolving into this, and then I created Get Safe and started off with kids safety training, because at the time when I was really heavily teaching, one out of 3 girls and 1 out of 4 boys before they're 18 will be a survivor of molestation, and numbers are terrible because they weren't giving the tools on what to do. So we did that, and then women's safety classes, and then we got into the disability world, because they're the highest risk of victimization. It's usually the second highest is like 16 to 23-year-olds because they know everything, right? But they don't.
Yeah.
So you have to give them tools. And then but the disability world of autism and Downs, they are highly affected by bullying or assault, sexual assaults, or domestic. So we morphed into that. And then, I was teaching, because I did a lot of, obviously martial arts. So I was teaching a lot of officer defensive tactics. And I go, well, if I'm going to teach this, I should know how it feels to be out there wearing the gear, the extra 25 pounds. Now it's probably 30 pounds with the vest and everything and all the extra stuff. And also I wanted to give back. And that's how I just got into the reserves. As I'm ranked as a lieutenant within the reserve department. And I don't know. My wife keeps telling me, you got to stop, it's free. I go, I like the team. I like what we do. I like being a part of that healthy aspect. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that childhood thing just morphed me into more of a protector in every aspect of my.
Was there something specifically that got you to want to be or to do safety? There's something happened in your life early on?
Yeah, it was when that kid, I think it was in 6th grade, we were just going to go get ice cream and we're riding our bikes, and, just a sunny day, just a normal day, just another Thursday. And all of a sudden I see these 3 big kids coming across. One was a female and 2 males. And all of a sudden they grabbed us, dragged us up into the dirt lot. And it was funny, even at that age, I saw that gas station. I felt like, oh, I could run there. But then we're kind of brought up to say, don't leave your buddy, right? You got to stay there. But I teach heavily. They say, hey, listen, you don't have the tools. If you can get help, it's going to be a quicker response. And so that kind of made me go there. And they were taking your money, they were punching you, they were like trying to pull your pants down. It was a pretty little thing that I kept within. But after that, right away at 7th grade, I started training karate. Then in wrestling in middle school, wrestling in high school. Then my senior year, I started judo and taekwondo and kung fu and krav maga. And it just but I liked it, but also it gave me tools to teach other people. So that was I think the pivotal point, because I kept thinking, I'll just run a little business and, and ride around in a big yacht and, have fun. But yeah. I was called to this. I don't, I can't explain why, but like I said, every time I got off track of the safety, something bounced me back into this, and I'm happy, right? You saw that we've touched a lot of lives, and I feel like I've been doing it so long, but I'm just getting started, and I feel like there's more that we want to do. And so, yeah, so I appreciate you having us. It just gives us a voice as well, kind of what Get Safe does. And we teach throughout the state, we teach law enforcement throughout the state. We've taught about over maybe 12,000 officers on how to de-escalate people with disabilities, how to de-escalate civilians. But we also talk about, like, we're through post, and I always made sure we put officer wellness in it. Because as you know, there's more officers that are going to die by their own weapon versus being shot in the streets. And that's a terrible thing, right? And it's not an open environment where I can go, hey, I had a bad day, I mean, we would teach classes where their therapist was right next door to the locker room. And yeah, I went in there, and an hour later I come out, everyone knows that I'm in there and they know what's going on. And I go, you going to go back? No. So they're getting better. I think law enforcement is getting better about listening to things that cops see, because they see so many terrible things, and Danny was telling me about what he does, and those are terrible things. And Jason, you've probably seen many things that affect you. And
I mean, I just had a dream the other night, believe it or not, a couple of nights ago, and I'll share this with everybody. I had a dream that it's one of those shooting dreams that you have, doing this business, and we were in a shooting with somebody, you're getting shot at like crazy, and you're shooting, but your gun keeps messing up.
Yeah,
it's not firing. Or you hit them with like rubber bullets and it's not affecting them, and that kind of a thing. And it happens from time to time. Wellness is a big deal. It's a lot better now than it was when I first got on back in 1998. They're making it a serious deal. I'm actually on peer-to-peer. And to tell you the truth, I was critical incident response team for I've been on there for 20 years, close to 20. But the one thing, they came to me and said, hey, we want you to be on peer-to-peer, or they were making it mandatory. And I'm like, I'm not really interested in that. That's not my thing. And they said, no, you just go through the training. And I went through the training, and I got to tell you, Stuart, I really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you something, I'll share something with you. And I don't know if you've ever thought about incorporating this with your trainings or not, but probably the biggest thing that was neat or at least the thing that I appreciated and took away from it, and that made it very valuable, was that when they did these various days worth of trainings, they incorporated. They had a bunch of different teams. They had animal control that was there. They had ambulance personnel that was there, fire department, police from different agencies, and we were all in the same room together, which was great because we don't oftentimes have that opportunity to even get to know these guys for one, and it was really good to hear their stories and get to know them. I felt better about firefighters. I didn't ever really feel comfortable just walking into a firehouse to have a cup of coffee until you meet some of these guys.
Yeah,
it's important.
There is that back and forth, and I mean, and I don't know if you ever got to do this. When I first came on, I was terrible at the radio and still not great at it, but I went up to dispatch. And I remember sitting there and this lady's going, okay, what's going on? I'm pulling this car over. And then he goes radio silent. And I'm all like, oh my God, what's going on? And she's all, what's going on? And then she's all, hey, what's going on? Are you code 4? We're code 4. And then finally gets on super annoyed. Like, yeah, I'm on code 4, but they don't realize the impact, that they don't see what's happening. And they're sitting on the edge of their seat. Do I need to send backup? What's going on there? And it was such an eye-opening, mad respect for what dispatch does as well. That, it's something that you should sit and see what these men and women go through when they're dispatching out calls and they're worried for the officer that they're sending out. So, but yeah, I think it's us getting to know everyone helps that, there's animosity and fun back and forth with fire and, what we do and what they do. So.
One of the classes that I do that I'm a part of is called Prevention Through Understanding. And that can go along with everything that you're doing, actually, because suicide is preventable. A lot of everything that we look at with safety is preventable. And, now when I thought about coming on tonight, I thought about that. I thought about prevention through understanding and education. That's what it's about. We got to educate. Did you start? I mean, is it you think it's important teaching young children early about understanding?
Yeah, I'm all about early invention. It's funny. I'm going to bring it up and not sound like a pitch, but we created 15 years ago, I had some puppets that we used to desensitize the training of the kids, right? Talk about, hey, your private areas, different things, make it fun. So we're in the middle of a puppet series called Safety Superstars that we're doing because it connects the kids, and people call it a safety skill, but it's more a life skill we talk about because it gives them tools as they go. Because as you know, we talk about bully prevention, we talk about drowning, we talk about handgun safety. I just had a gentleman yesterday, a kid, 16, and he's on the spectrum and wanted to know about firearm safety. And I go, hey, what if you see a green or a pink or yellow gun, do you pick it up? Because nowadays we know that those are live weapons, and we've always taught that you teach any weapon. So giving them those tools, I think we can help. We have a crosswalk safety. I mean, I'm sure you have seen so many issues with crosswalk, kids walking across because they have the right of way, but not. They don't really do it, right? They don't really have the right of way because that car is bigger and scarier. And even if that first car stops, we've had them where that second or third car rammed them and pushed the other car into the crosswalk, and we've had a fatality. Yeah. So yeah, early intervention I love. I just, the sooner I can get in front of the individuals, that's why we created the puppet series. It's something that's important. And and then we also work with disability. I have to say this or Caitlin's going to kill me. We entered a disability film challenge, and we have two films that we entered. Stronger Than Words, that's regarding bullying with the individual with Down syndrome. And they're 3 to 4 times more likely to be bullied in the school systems. And so we did a 5-minute video on how a father and a son can talk and communicate. Because, when you hear that your child, and I don't know if that's ever happened to you, Jason, with your child being bullied or something, you want to go out there and take control. Yeah. And I'm going to go to that parent's house. But the first start of getting back their power and control is to help them be a part of what's going on. How do you want to address this? And of course we do our parental thing also on the side, but what do you want to do that you're being picked on at school? Can we address this? Can we do this? And that's part of what this video series. And then the other one is The Last Time We Talked, and it was created by Brad, who's our military and law enforcement instructor. He's former military. It's about veteran suicide. And it's a 5-minute video. So if you guys want to see that and go on, I'm going to read it what it is, because you can go on. Both films can be found on the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge on YouTube. Easterseals Disability Film Challenge YouTube. But we're just trying to create awareness through visual too, like your podcast that you're saying it's all over the place. Yeah. That has always been my dream, to get something that's national, because if we can help a child, it's so life-changing when a sexual assault happens to a kid or anyone, first of all, but if we can help give them cues like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Yeah. I had a kid I taught, and all the kids kept going to the house on the neighborhood because they had the best games. They had so many great games and all the kids, but he wouldn't go because we talked about it. I say, listen, if you don't know them, you don't go. And the parents say, yeah, you got to listen to Go by Safety Stu. And it turned out they were hooked that guy up like 2 weeks later because he was molesting the kids. And that's why he had all the latest games, brought them in, he was recruiting them all. And so those are the things that we can give some tools. But yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm just curious because you talk about, I see how that is vitally important to be able to talk and educate these kids. But on the other side of the coin, I also see that this would be really a challenge for you to even get your foot in the door at schools to allow them you to actually put together these projects or to do this type of instruction. Have you ran into that over the years?
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, bringing it up, because it is difficult, right? We were just talking about it today. It's like, I've had so many times I battle, if we talk about it, it's going to happen. I go, no, it's already happening. No one's talking about it. But if we don't give them tools, so yeah, we've run into a lot of challenges. We have an amazing school place safety thing, but they mostly want to check the box and say, oh, it's about, we did the fences and we did this, but not giving the kids any tools on what to do and issues that it's not just about, armed assailants on campus. It's also about bully prevention and what to do when that happens, and safety. Like I was saying, it's kind of a life skill, but yeah, it's been a struggle. No doubt. But you find advocates where you didn't think there was anyone there, and it makes you like re-believe in what you're doing because you get there and you keep pushing. But yeah, it's a tough road, but we keep doing it. And like you said, we've been successful in a lot of school districts. Find the right person. Just takes one person in the district to keep pushing for you, or different agencies or companies. We do workplace safety as well. So.
Well, that's the good that you bring that up, because in the age that we're living in right now with active shooters, who would have thought that this kind of stuff would be going on? As a matter of fact, I kind of remember as a kid, when James Huberty went into that McDonald's, in I think it was 1980 in by San Diego, and that was like one of the first. I know it's not the first. I think that you'd go to the Texas. With a guy who was at the Texas Tower at University of Texas. But when I think it was Charles Whitman was his name. But, school shootings, it's commonplace nowadays. Unfortunately, my gosh, and so that's one of the things that you actually provide that type of training for teachers in school.
Yeah. And that's the thing that, it's hard to communicate with schools that you get. I sit on some school safety things and they go, oh yeah, we had some training. And most of the times law enforcement coming in and teaching what they do, right? Not giving them as many tools on what to do for them. And I go, oh, what would you do in this? Oh, I don't know. And then they have a recovery team, and what's their training? Oh, are they going to be ready to go into a place that smells like gunfire and death and screaming? And so, yeah, ours was kind of a well-rounded thing that we wanted to, but also, like I said, it does happen a lot, but bullying happens 45% of the time. Sexual assaults are on the rise in college campuses and high schools. The numbers are huge. So those are the things that,
and not only that, but basically what you're talking about in addition to that is, it just doesn't go from the bullying like that. It's through phones and people doing the AI jazz and stuff like that, and that's a whole nother level. I mean, we got a lot of kids that are killing themselves over that kind of stuff right now. Which I think
it looks real. It looks real.
Well, the sextortion too, though, right?
Right.
And this is the other thing. It's like it's so sad. We get a 16-year-old kid who got tricked into sending a personal pic of his, down below, and
Right.
all of a sudden it turns into, you owe me $1,500 and you owe me this and this, and before you know it, and they're thinking with a 16-year-old brain, like, we know, like, okay, this is terrible and it's embarrassing, but we can figure this out. But they
Right.
there's no end to it. And so that kind of extortion is so horrible, and to your point, even when we were talking about the bullying through social, right? Like, hey, you send a pic now. Before, if you send something, it'd just be in your school, right? Now it's goes throughout all the schools, because once you get, on, a platform and they're sending them out, before it can get shut down, that kid has nowhere to go without, everyone pointing fingers out. So those are the things. I was bullied by phone earlier this year. No, it's bullying we just had someone say their granddaughter was bullied by phone, by social media, by, it's not just physical. It's, cyber, it's harassment, and it's teaching the understanding of that. But we're big advocates of that, even in the workplace, right? It happens. And, so.
Can I tell a little story about the workplace? I know Jason probably doesn't know this, but, because some things you're saying really hits home for me. One, I worked a school shooting with a school teacher. My patient was a school teacher that was shot in the head. She did survive.
Oh, good.
But I was actually involved in a workplace shooting. There was 3 of us working. One guy came to me and asked me to go do something. Whenever I left, he went and shot another guy in the head. And then he came to me with a gun and told me to go get law enforcement. He could have shot me. I thought this happened like 35 years ago. But it stayed with me for a long, long time. So that's some things that you're saying here. It really hits home. And I think this training of what to do if something happens either at a workplace or a school is really, really important.
Yeah, no, and that's terrifying. And thank goodness you're safe and everything, because, it is, we've had some close calls. We've had people, that haven't been as safe, and we've talked to counseling teams that go in after the school shootings, and because we've had a few in the area and outside of the area, and it's, where do the kids go from there, right? Their classmates,
Right.
and, they're traumatized like you're like, you still can see it, right? And imagine a kid in high school losing their friend, and it's, I don't know, like I said, to me, we're trying to create, there's no such thing as a violence-free world, but I always said, I can't wait for a violence-free world and I can go work on the beach somewhere and sell surfboards somewhere, but until that happens, we have to keep doing what you're doing. You're bringing awareness. Danny, you're out in the field doing things. And, so I appreciate and have respect for the changers, right? You guys are making change out there, and you're just with your presence and with your podcasts. And the more we get a voice on things, because it's tough, it's just, but it changes you. That's what I wanted to ask, because Danny was talking about seeing so many dead bodies, and Jason, you've probably seen a ton being in New York. And for me, it changed me. I remember a story of my niece was graduating 8th grade, and the kid's smiling and happy, and I'm smiling because I see her in a graduation. And then all of a sudden I got this weird vibe that goes through me that somebody's out there that's going to try and hurt her or take advantage of her or move past it. And so that's how it affects us as well, right? We talk about self-care and for ourselves as well, because right there kind of ruined the moment for me, because I just went back to my work, what I see a lot, and what I work, because we work with survivors of violent crime.
And so that's something I want to mention too, just and ladies and gentlemen, why is this important? I'll tell you why this is important to have people like Stuart on, or Gale, or, because number one, I want to expose everybody to the various aspects of the world of criminal justice. It's not just all about homicide. I know everybody, people want to go, they want to hear about all the stories. They want to hear about this and that. And that's great. I mean, murder sells, and so does a lot of the other things involved in the criminal justice system. But this is a huge part of it, just to show people that, number one, people are out there, they're doing things. People always, after an event at a school, God forbid, where somebody gets sexually assaulted, they're like, well, how could this have ever happened? Yeah. Well, they're doing things to try to prevent that. And I think that it would be important for school administrators or people involved in that world to take note of shows like this, or when people do come to them and they're offering their assistance, and you know, at times there's a cost that comes to it. They've got to make a living too. So you have to keep that in mind as well. He's not a philanthropist. That's just, so is there anything out of you have like a huge spectrum of things that you're providing that you can provide to various fields, law enforcement, schools, businesses. Is there any one of the group that really kind of is one of your probably number one clients that is really that's taken off and you're really making a lot of movement on that?
I think our workplace safety has been good. We do a lot with people with disabilities because it's a special need, and it takes a special communication. Like, it was funny because I was just talking about this. We have some masters in social work that work here, PhDs, and I'm proud of the people who graduate, but I also say it doesn't make you be able to transfer your knowledge, right? It's learning the communication skills on how to do better and how to help them, you know, connect with someone. And like I said, communication, connection, then we can help. So I think probably we do a lot with the development disabilities group because it's, you know, it's probably a little harder how to make sure how we communicate. I think way we do it, we make it fun, impactful, you know, it's motivating, but also I think with survivors of assault. So it's, you know, my problem is what you said, right? I'm a shotgun guy. You know, I always value the guys. Like, I have buddies who run Krav Maga schools and they're focused, right? Singular. But you give me a cause and I turn my head, I'm going that way. You know, if I find someone that needs something more, we do it. And just giving, you know, them tools, right? Because we have the tools to do it. We have the education. You know, we just saw a lady was saying that her daughter was being bullied because her parents are divorced. Yeah, kids are mean. And the other thing we do is we're advocates. You know, I've gone to schools and talked to schools and say, listen, because my daughter was bullied. And all of a sudden we're driving and I pick her up, we're driving, and she goes, oh yeah, some kid pushed me down. I go, really? Was it a girl or a guy? Some guy. Second time. I go, can we go back to school? She goes, yes. And then she started welling up. She got it out. She talked to me, which I was really happy. We turned back, we go to the school, and I go, hey, it was 3:05. And I go, hey, is the principal here? No, they already went home. Was the vice principal here? No, he went home already. Like, what? It's 5 minutes after school closed. Where is everyone? So, but after that, I followed through and made sure. And that's what we do to help parents, because a school's obligation, that should be the safest place. They should, their only job is to enjoy their experience and learn there. And if they're not doing that, the school is failing. And so that's the other thing we help, because parents get overwhelmed because you get a lot of red tape. But there's a Safe School Act, man. You need to make sure that your kid is safe, and that's their job. So,
yeah. How do you, I don't know, this is stuck in my head when you said it a while ago about Down syndrome. How do you do that? Do you go to the school? Do you meet with the student and the families, the parents?
Yeah, we have a great system out here. We have a lot of advocates. They bring us in. We do group trainings. We do one-on-ones too, because some are horrifically bullied, or they've been sexually abused, or they're perpetrators. They've done crime, but a lot of times they're manipulated into it. Hey, if you want to be cool with us, go slap that girl in the bottom, right? Just a simple example. And then all of a sudden, you know, they're in trouble, and because that is another form of it. So we do all levels. Yeah, we just go there. I think, you know, I've been doing it, as Jason mentioned, for 400 years. So we know kind of how to connect and make it fun, make it repetitive, and then keep going. And, you know, it is a need out there. And like Jason says, it's figuring out funding, because, you know, I didn't pick a field. I do get jealous of sometimes when I meet cops that were working for a different department, and now they're at another department, and now they got dual income. I go, oh man, that's what I should, you know, but I like what I do, but it's always a hustle, you know, in the sense of trying to explain, hey, this is super important. This is something that can change their life in a heartbeat, and let us try and be proactive instead of reactive. And that's when I run into reactive agencies, drives me crazy. They got the great forensic team. Oh, we'll have a forensic. And we don't need to do that. Let's save time and money by giving them tools to understand before something bad happens and before they have to go. So,
well, let's talk about this book. This book that you got out there, that, you know, it's not just, you have some interesting areas in this book. One of which is, it even gets down to dating and the types of red flags or yellow flags that, I mean, it's easy to spot the guys that, you know, are just the red flags.
Yes.
It's the yellow flags that you mention in there and things along that nature. And I think that's kind of interesting. That's just a small part of them. This is a 400-page book. So there's a lot of different things in there. So let's talk just briefly on what are some of the more interesting things in this book that
first
really
I wanted
out?
to make, and I know they always hate when I do it, but like a bathroom reader, right? Something that you can pick up any chapter and pick up something and make it fun. I always believe making people smile a little bit empowers them versus scary stories. You know, there's books out there that scare you, and like you're saying, like true crime, people like that. But for me, I've always found it, especially when I'm in a room of survivors, I got to build a connection with them, make them smile a little bit, make them trust me, because, you know, 100% of the time it's a male. Well, 95% of the time it's a male abuser, and I'm a male. And I've had people say, you look just like my abuser for the first day. And then a week later, find out the abuser was 4'1", red hair, nowhere near what I look like, but they attached it. But yeah, we talk about, you know, my thing it's a lot of this comes from working in bars, watching how men and women groom someone else, how bartenders, you know, go drop drinks, you know, drugs in the drink for $100, and how to just start listening to your thoughts. Right. And so the yellow flags is a lot of people forget, right? It's how they speak to you. Like Danny, okay, that's maybe weird, but Danny and I are on a date and we're sitting at a table and I'm focused on Danny. Like, you're the greatest thing in the world. And the waiter comes up and I tell him, hey, you know what? I'm talking to Danny right now, so you come back later. A lot of people sometimes think, oh, well, he's so focused on me, but you just saw how I treat other people. Or if there's a homeless guy and, you know, I kick him, or, hey, I was coming to the date and I tried to run over this cat. Look at those other yellow flags that aren't violence against you, but it sometimes turns around. We talk about maybe the guy on the date who says, oh yeah, my last girlfriend was a B, and my mom's a B, and my sister's a B. And a lot of times we get caught up like, oh, that poor guy. And it's like, my head's thinking, hey, that guy probably has some trouble with women. You know, if everyone in his world is out to get him, something's weird. And a lot of times that attention eventually goes back to you, right? And you become the B in the relationship. So it's just being eyes wide open. You know, we always talk about eating in a public place, making sure you have someone who knows you're out. And this goes for both, right? You know, and watching your drinks and covering them and just being safe for a while, because it's, you know, we use it as a joke, but what drops, like you were saying, right, Danny, the scary, that's super easy to see, right? Those are easy. But what makes us drop our safety control is if the person's handsome or pretty, funny. You all heard someone already. Oh yeah, okay, I'm solely into this, but then you forget this watching that. So those are the things that we just say, you know, hey, have fun. What you want to do, your choice, your body, but you know, make sure it's on your terms.
I mean, they could drop medicine or roofie or whatever in somebody's drink like a magic trick and do it so quick that it's like the hand is quicker than the eye, and I'm sure that's what you teach them. But you know,
watching that, and you know, like I said, but once that person's super charming, you start lowering your guard a little bit, right? You know, like, oh, this person, you know, we call it hotness. You know, what's the one thing that gets in the way of you? And it's hotness. And we talk about trust, right? What's the most valuable gift you can give someone? And it's usually money or the naked dance. I go, no, you're not giving any of that until you trust, right? So let's dole it out a little slower. You don't have to trust right away. Just kind of, you know, keep a little distance and a little awareness. And that's that's what I wanted the book to be.
Yeah. You know? I always set to where I can see the exit and put my back, you know, where I can see people coming in. That's just what I've always done.
And you're comfortable doing it, right? That's what you know, I'm always positioning, watching, because I want to see who comes in, but I'm not like, oh my God, what's going on? You know, I feel comfortable doing that. And that's, you know, it is a cop and it's a first responder kind of thing that we do that. And, but now my kids know it, you know, all right, dad has to see here, but I go, I give it to my 13-year-old son or my 14-year-old daughter. I go, hey, you're watching the door now. You tell me what's going on. So they get used to it. So that's what I'm a big believer in, teachable moments. Like we come out of Costco and I go, okay, what'd you see to your left? And my son's a little better. He'll go, oh, I saw a man sitting there with a backpack and it looks like he was sleeping there. And I go, okay, good. You know, what's over there? And I'll ask, what color was that car coming towards us? And my daughter would answer it, you know, and it's building their situational awareness, right? That's what I'm trying to do, seeing things.
And think about this. Think about this now. You know, years ago, you'd see some dude come into a store wearing a hoodie when it's 85, 90 degrees and wearing a mask, a surgical mask. You're like, this place is about ready to get robbed. And now you see it all the time.
With
and
masks,
so,
yes.
I know.
Because
And gloves.
COVID,
or gloves too. And you're like,
and
but now you don't even think twice about it half the time because you're like, all right, it's somebody COVID
I
conscious.
literally just saw someone with a mask and a hoodie, and I go, "Oh my god!" And I told my kids, I go, "Back in the day, this would never happen, or this is like, hey, we're keeping our eye on them." But now it's like, it's normal, not for us. I think in our world, we still, I mean, it's, we look at, it's not profiling. It's a profiling for violent behavior is what we're profiling.
Yeah.
We're watching and see, and that's what we teach a lot is violent indicators. How you're clenching your fist, or how that person reacts, or to you, how they look at you. And that's what we try and teach men and women when you're in clubs. It's being aware of what's going on, have fun,
new normal.
Know enough to leave, right? It's what I was there first. Doesn't matter. Your safety's first. There'll be other gatherings. If you feel like a guy, if he bumps into another guy and he sees him talking to a bunch of friends, looking at you, that's trouble brewing. And if you're kind of, it's wiser to leave. And a lot of people, I'm not leaving. I was there first, but weigh it out, right? Trip to the hospital or going home and going to a party another day. So,
and theoretically, I'll mention this too. We as cops, just because we're cops doesn't mean we can't be victims either. So I tell cops all the time, I'm like, listen, and I mean, even at work in uniform, we can be a victim we could get killed, we could get assaulted, etc. So I always tell people, and I teach a lot in the academy, and I always tell these cadets, I'm like, listen, fear is your friend. Yeah. Don't ignore that. If you're ignoring those moments, if the hair on the back of your neck stands up, you need to listen to it, because it's that sixth sense. And ladies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're like walking out of an elevator out onto a parking garage at an airport at 10:30 at night because your plane just got in late. These are the ingredients for disaster. I'm not trying to make everybody panic, but be with somebody else. Go with the crowd. Don't go off alone.
I get a lot. Well, it's paranoia. No, it's awareness. This is what I want, right? We've had people, a lady get, there's an elevator with two big dudes that were kind of scary. And I go, what'd you do? Well, I got on it. I go, why? Well, I didn't make them feel bad. I go, no, it's your choice to say, I'm going to go to a different elevator, and that's for all of us, right? Guys do the same thing. They feel like they can't be scared. They're more scared of not looking scared than listening to their instincts, and those are the things we teach. And like the book is very simple and fun is what I wanted, and a lot of it, but it's stuff that I feel like you can take and it's adding to your toolkit. And sometimes we forget stuff that you read in it, and sometimes you learn stuff. And that was the goal of that. And that's the goal of what we teach. It's just making it relatable, kind of, enjoying and fun, but also sometimes we heighten their scaredness because we do reality-based stuff as well. Like, what are you going to do when someone's yelling at you? How do you react? What should you do? And are you seeing things? Well, put knives on someone, obviously training knives or training gun. And did you see that? And it's funny how much tunnel vision happens, but once they feel it, they're better, right? We learn from that, we learn from that experience, and so it's
being a reserve officer. Did that help you? I'm sure it helped you, like doing active shooter trainings. For schools.
It allowed. I liked it because it did open up law enforcement training for me. So I've gotten to do a lot of fun trainings, a lot of, all kinds of trainings. It's helped out. My safety skills came prior in the sense, but you learn some more. But mine was because I just did it. I don't know how I got in that world, but I just was there. And but yes, any kind of training that they can offer. We just did sitting down shooting at the sheriff's department. And I go, that was fun and interesting, because we're talking about assassination shooting, where cops are being targeted while they're eating, how to get out of a seat, how to draw out, how to, be prepared. And it was great. You keep learning. We're all students, right? I can, the longer I've been doing this, I can still learn, so.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, situal awareness, you're absolutely right. I was sitting up in a dark area doing a report late at night up in one of the seedier areas of Tulsa. And I something caught my eye. There was two cops where it was me and another one. And that's one of the reasons that we're sitting in different directions. Right. So we can keep our eye in the other way. And man, I saw a guy walking beeline in it, man, right towards me, and it was like immediately, let's go. And he was like putting it in. I don't know what was going on with this cat, what his problem was, but we addressed it in a different way than to be victims. And that's something we got to be careful of. And it's not just cops, it's everybody. We just need to be more aware. I saw somebody mention something earlier about, changing their group of friends. Yeah. You know what? If you hang around with, finding groups of friends, if your child is kind of I was bullied when I came from California to Oklahoma. Believe it or not, I thought, well, I didn't even think there was any other states other than California. I was completely mystified. And then when I ended up in Oklahoma, I thought there was going to be people on horseback, and it was terrible. I hated it here. And it was, oh man, it was miserable. Here I came from California, long hair, I was like a surfer looking kid, and you imagine back in the early 80s, that was kind of the thing. You had long hair and it was bleached blonde and etc. And people wanted to fight, you know what I mean? And it was a miserable experience, but then I just started hanging around with good people and it just started getting better.
That's what I am 100%. We've had groups of women go to a club and groups of men, same thing. And one doesn't have their ID and they send them off to go home. And it's like, you need a new group of friends who are going to watch your back. You want people who watch out for you,
That's right.
And you see it, and that's my friends, they'll keep quiet. We just went surfing today, not very good at it, but my buddy's yelling, go, there's a wave coming. And that's what you want to watch, keep paddling because you don't want to get hammered. But that's just like watching your back at other places.
Right.
And when you mentioned about what you did when you saw someone running, that's the hard part of what I do for a living is prevention. You can't measure it, right? You can't measure. I made a right because I remember that class, but we don't know what happens, right? Because you made the safer choice. So it's hard to, know what happened because you didn't go down the bad choice. And those are the things that are a little harder, but I love stories like that. We don't need to find out what happened. Just know you made the right safety decision to go, I'm getting a bad feeling here. I'm going to leave. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I can't prove it, but I think, and we had a lady, I remember, and also sometimes I'll teach, hey, if you get a flat tire, get to a safe area, call the cops. And that's for men and women. And the lady goes, I can change my own tire. I go, no, it's not about changing a tire. It's about being in a safe environment. And she got a flat tire. It's going to pull over, but she got this bad feeling. Someone was following, and she remembered my voice and saying, hey, just get somewhere safe. And as soon as she pulled into a well-lit gas station, this person just gassed it and got out of there. And don't know what would have happened, but she said, I don't know if it was bad, but I know I felt better that I didn't do that. So if you think about Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Bono, the Hillside Stranglers from Los Angeles, who killed 10 females, 2 of which were children, from 1977 to, I think it was 77 to 78. And in 4 months. And the reason why they were stopping cars as if they were cops. So you have to be cognizant of things like that. Stuart, I don't know how old you are, but I was living in LA when that happened. And there was a palpable fear in Southern California when that was going on. And so you got to be, even if a cop wants to meet you and they say that they're a police officer and they want to meet you, there's nothing, we will be happy to meet you in a public spot. I mean, we're not going to take offense to that. If the cop did, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, especially not buying something off a marketplace when you have to meet, or because you don't know who's coming. And we've had people here just recently.
He got shot at I think it's a marketplace or a real estate, looking at a house or something like that. It was a robbery, but and we tell people, call 911. If you're not sure, call their boss. Go, hey, do you have a patrol car here? They're pulling me over. Yes, we do. I'm getting a bad vibe. And they'll ask for someone to be sent out. That's their right. And you're right. People tend to see when they see police, they'll open their door to their house. They'll do this. And that's it. How easy. The 3 of us can go shopping right now and pick up dark uniform, a little badge that looks real, a little holster, and be real, and for the untrained eye, or even just behavior wise, we know that something's off with this guy or this, whatever it is. And so it's, I've been around, I can't remember the Strangler guy who was, he was going around and breaking into homes, and everyone started buying locks and safety training. And then,
the Night Stalker. I
Night
mean, that
Stalker.
was one of
Yeah,
yeah,
Night
Night
Stalker.
Stalker.
Yeah, and I was teaching back then, and all of a sudden, 2 months later, after he was gone, everyone was like, "Oh no, I'm okay, I'm safe." So I'm an advocate of having I like the security screen doors because a lot of times we open our door and people rush in, and having that little layer helps out. Those heavy duty ones. I don't know. I like.
Well, I'll tell you what. If somebody knocks on my door in the daytime, I'm usually going to grab my gun.
Yeah.
I mean, in the middle of the day, especially during the week. That's if I'm not expecting somebody.
Right.
My father-in-law was like, "Were you expecting somebody else?" And I'm like, "You come into my house in the middle of the daytime, that's prime burglary time, buddy. All you got to do is let me know."
Yeah.
So I have cameras now, and I oftentimes I will look before. And so forth. I got to tell you a quick story that just popped in my head real quick. I just to digress just for a second.
I'm not going to your house during the day.
No, listen to me. I was just to kind of entertain the audience just real quick. I was working a wire and the shift that I was wiretap and the shift that I was working, it happened to be, I was working crime scene, I think, but I was wearing street clothes, just to listen to people's phone calls, for bad stuff. And so I was running late, go figure. And so I'm running around, I'm getting my coffee. I was working the night shift. It's like midnight, or it's like 11:30 or midnight. And I ran out to my car. I didn't even put my gun on yet. I put my gun in the front seat of my unmarked police car. I had a long motorhome in my driveway at the time. It was a 32-foot motorhome. And I ran out there and stuck my stuff in the car. And I was like, my coffee, I got to go get it. So I ran into the house to get my coffee. I grabbed my coffee. I ran out. And the moment I go out my front door, there's a man standing there right in my walkway. And of course I was like, I spilled part of my coffee on my arm. I don't have my gun on me because I'm like, does he have my gun? I just literally ran from there. And I'm like, and he's like, hey, sorry. And he's got to act like a weirdo. Yeah. Hey, sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. And I'm like, and my octaves in my voice had changed. Believe me. I was like, it's okay. But yeah. And I am wanting to just strangle this guy right now. And so he goes, hey, I'm looking for this address. Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, it isn't this one. And it's not over there. Yeah. And so he ended up walking off. And then I immediately jump in my minivan of all things. Here I am, I'm driving an unmarked minivan. And I pulled up on him and I pulled my gun. I was like, get your hands on the hood of my car. And it turned out he was a legitimate lost guy from Canada.
Wow.
And his relatives lived up on the next block over. And then he told him the story and he goes, oh yeah, you must have met the cop. Yeah. But you got to be aware of your surroundings. Yeah. And if there's ways to help improve these doorbell cameras, I mean, what do these cost nowadays, Stuart? I mean, to get a camera on your house or on your front door is next to nothing, right?
Yeah, you can get it.
Yeah, my mother 2 weeks ago had some people, two pretty big dudes knocking on the door. She has a security gate that, hopefully maybe listen to me, but maybe not. So she had the screen door open and they're going, hey, we're just trying to sell some stuff. But she didn't have the camera, which is good. But it's post. But they said, well, just open this door and we can talk better. She goes, I'm not opening that, the screen door. They wanted her to open the barrier, which is what reason would they need to speak to someone through without the closed door? So that was scary. And those are the things like we would talk about people going late at night to ATMs, right? Well, there's a camera there. I go, the only thing that's going to show you is you getting mugged. Don't remember that it's not a safety tool. It's a post safety tool. So those are the things that you kind of want to remember, right? Because you think about it. And I had a student one time, he was very well trained in martial arts. And he said, oh, I had to fight this guy and I had him at ATM. He was trying to rob me. I go, were you at the ATM? Well, it was morning. I go, what time in the morning? He goes, 4 a.m. I go, that's not morning. That's still night. Yeah. Don't go to the ATMs.
Absolutely not.
So it's changing our mindset, right? We want to change it a little bit just to reframe stuff and be a little safer about things. And again, create that communication connection. And then it will help better safety because we talked about the situational awareness and all that. But yeah,
absolutely. All of this is good stuff. If you want to get you want to read and do a deep dive on what he's got going on, that's his website right there. You can feel free to go there. That getsafeusa.com. You can go there. There is a motherload of things on that site that talks about what he does. Not only does he provide services, he also speaks. And I can't just go to every conference in this country because the kind of stuff that I talk about is not applicable for everything. But you may be looking for a speaker that's something like this. You spoke at the California Crime Prevention Officers Association, which I'm a friend of. Our conference is coming up. It's not ours, their conference, and it'll be up in Lake Tahoe. But that's something you speak at those, and I'm sure that you're available to speak throughout, wherever they'll have.
Yeah, we speak in front of PTAs, or I speak in front of like I said, law enforcement aspects of it. We talk. I've done women's conferences, which is weird. They go, "Why do they have a man?" But I've been doing that, so. Just give you another perspective of.
Yeah, I saw him on Fox News, Newsmax, on the big news stations.
Yeah,
you
mean Stuart? Stuart was on Newsmax.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and a couple. I got some couple news channels. They brought me in a couple times when we had the active shooter at the regional center, which was in San Bernardino.
Okay.
And it was at a workplace party, and this guy was legit. Him and his wife, they were loaded for bear, and we had one of our trainers were there like just an hour before, but she got to leave and everything. But yeah, so they'll bring me on and talk about different things, and so but yeah, we do that. But I also just reminded everyone to go to the Easterseals Film Challenge. Remember, stronger than words, and the last time we spoke, or last time we talked, sorry. And
I don't want to just remind them of that. You also have a podcast, right? Where do we find that?
It's on our website, getsafeusa.com, and go to YouTube, and we have podcasts on there. We have PSAs, public service announcements that we've done, and we'll have a lot more. We're doing a lot more content now, which we're excited about, and everything is about maybe helping people be better. So
thank you.
But
Karen. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that's awesome tonight. I appreciate it. And good. And matter of fact, subscribe to his YouTube channel right after you subscribe for mine. Okay.
Yes. Jason's first, ours is second. It's really fine. So, but no,
now listen,
I appreciate
check out his book. You got your book. Is it just that book, or do you have another book that's available?
No, that's the book. I mean, writing a book was not in my field of vision, but it's been good. I'm glad I did it. And like you said, it was probably 400 pages, which is a longer book. It reads easy, but I always thought, hey, I should have just done it in smaller portions, nowadays. And we're going to do an audio version eventually. But it is available on Amazon if anyone's interested in it.
I'll get it after tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I do, so if you have any things that pop up, please reach out to us through the website. If you're having issues you're not sure to handle with your kids, or if there's, even situations that are happening in your world that are scary, let us know. So, because that's, this is what we do, and, we're continuing to do it. So we every
I'll tell you what.
Yep.
Well, if you're a single female, I mean, if you're single and you're kind of in the dating scene, I think that's not a bad idea, especially, and I know I'm kind of fixated on this dating section that you got in there. I thought that was really, that's good to throw that in there. I mean, it's not like your parents sit you down and go, hey, let me tell you how this works. And it's not even the same world that they lived in. It's everything's different. I mean, you got these sites that are today like Bumble and I don't even know all the names of them, but the ones that you can, Tinder, all of them. Yeah. It's just a totally different world, And
we got tracking devices now, right? You can easily track someone, which is scary. What do you do if you feel like you're being tracked? And, like we talked about the Rohypnol and different date rape drugs that can happen to you, and, just watching things. And like I said, I even tell men, because, a lot of times men go, oh, I'm fine. But if you're out with a date, and we've had this happen, they drug the guy and the girl, and the guy is rendered useless, and they take the girl, or they take the guy, or,
think about that,
beat him up and take his wallet, sometimes worse than beat up. And so we should all be aware of what's happening around us. And that's kind of that situational awareness and environmental awareness that's going on, and have plans, have a plan. Like when I go to the movies, I watch the exits. I got my kids near me, and they sit there. I tell them, hey, if something happens, I'm dropping them down, because we've had shooting, in the movie theaters for Batman. And,
they have church shootings now. I mean, that's a thing. We have at our church, we have practice like every couple of months
Yeah.
At the end of the service, everybody will get down in the pew, get on the floor and
Awesome. I was just talking to a guy who runs a big church and talking about, hey, are you training your guys to do this? Because a lot of times we have some really highly trained churches and some that just have people who volunteer who have concealed weapons permit. And it's like, yeah, you got to really train them and realize what they're looking for prior to something happening, and realizing that if you shoot, that bullet has your name on it. And it's, if you're not looking at the backdrop, the people behind you. So a lot of awareness situation when you do like all those kind of safety aspects, but it's just important, I think at all.
It is sad. It is sad that you have to train for that. Yeah. At church.
I was speaking, what was it, February the 6th at a sold out event at the Jewish Center. I don't think that it didn't cross my mind that, you talk about a target, rich environment and a lot of cops that work these part-time jobs at like churches and stuff. It's like, yeah, man, that is it's just a scary time. Schools, et cetera. But I could go on and on with the list. I want to thank everybody for being here. Is there anything else that you want to share, Stuart?
I appreciate it. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. You're a great host, and Danny, you're amazing. And thank you for having us, or having me. Awesome.
Well, listen, you're a friend of this podcast now, and you're somebody that at least is a resource for me. I like having a Rolodex of people like yourself you're an expert, and having experts in these different areas is it's crucial. Knowledge is power. And when you have people like yourself, it's good information. It is, Joanne. It's great info and reminders, and it's stuff that you need to think about because, you don't always get a second chance. So you need to get loud. There was a story I heard on a podcast you did real quick. I just want to mention this because there was like a couple of women, at these conferences and stuff like that. Yeah. It was the lawyer that was the host and the prosecutor. And she's talking about a story. You were talking about this story, I believe, but it was something about, there was two ladies that were walking down the hallway, and this guy basically just forced them into one of those motel rooms.
Yeah.
At one of these, they were at a conference.
Yeah, they got in an elevator, and he was pretending to be drunk, and they're going, oh, and he goes, and they press 4, and he goes, oh, that's my floor. He walks out stumbling. As soon as they open the door, he busted through them both down. And this is where, what we talked about earlier about leaving your buddy, and they said, he threw one on the ground, and he was going to start assaulting another one. Said, if you get up, I'm going to kill you. Well, as soon as he turned his back, she got out, ran, screamed, and then everyone's coming, and they got help. And that's, if she didn't do anything, and which is still scary. We're not trying to second guess what you would do there, but if you can do something like that, it made the big difference. And
that's right.
Just being aware, of everything, right? People pretend, and and like I said, I'm here. Your viewers. You're a friend of Get Safe as well. If there's something going on, you can reach out. My email is stuart@getsafeusa.com. This is what I do. My phone's always on. Yeah, it's stuart@getsafeusa.com. If you have any more questions about things, please feel free to reach out.
And that is on his website, by the way. And you can find all of that if you just type in his name, and you can throw that in there. And Stuart Haskin, and it should Get Safe, and it should get you to where you need to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us this Friday night, April the 10th, episode number 91. And I'm really 91. I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a grind, man, but I love it. Every one of my episodes, they're all, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you didn't see it, but I have nerves of steel. I was really stressing it, man. I was having some issues with my headphones. I'm curious, for those of you that are still in here, and hopefully you all are, drop a note. How was my audio? Because my audio, I'm working off of a better a Rodecaster over here that helps with the audio. So hopefully we're not having audio issues. It better be crystal clear, because
it is.
I got a screaming deal off of Marketplace. Hey, I thought I was going to get robbed on another. Yeah, it was so good of a deal. They probably were scared of me. That's how I stole that thing. Believe me.
That's where I bought mine at this week. I got mine off of Marketplace.
I just looked at it. Some tool says on Marketplace. I'm always like, okay, I got to make sure I'm in the right place and safe and everything.
The hair on the back of my neck was standing up probably about a month ago on one of my little transactions, but I made it out of there. So it was fun, but it reminded me I probably should take my gun with me when I go do these little things.
Oh, always. It's always.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Thank you, Joanne, for telling me that my audio was clear.
Yeah.
I love it. JP, it better sound clear because it's a lot of money in this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. Remember to like and subscribe. I also want to throw out a reminder for my friends at the North Carolina Homicide Investigator Association. I'm going to be speaking there in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
But before I go there, so if you're a homicide crime scene, I just noticed that they'd put out a deal. They're asking for people to sign up. If you're out in the area, we're going to be in Cherokee, North Carolina, in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be in Louisiana coming up this week. I'll be in Cajun country, and I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm going to be treated like a king, actually. The more I've read about what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be judging like a barbecue contest. I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not going to be. Yeah, well, I talked to Doug Satchery last night, and I said, "Where are you going to be at?"
Yeah.
And you know, from Tony Satchery Spice, you've probably got it in your cabinet, Stuart. And I know that Danny does, and he's actually in Florida. And I said, "Well, okay, that's too bad." So, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to see him. We both travel a ton. I'm going to be in California, in San Diego, September, for another conference. I'll be in San Diego. I'm going to make a return to LA. I'm going to stay in LA for a little bit. I'm just telling people this because I do speak. If you're looking for a speaker, 2026 is not looking good. Yeah, I'm booked, man. I can't do it. I have to actually go to work occasionally. Okay. And I will tell you,
how dare they?
I know. I'll tell you something else that was kind of cool. I just mentioned this real quick. That one other little fun fact. So I was speaking in Wichita, and of course I checked out a couple of spots where BTK had done his murders and stuff, because that's what homicide detectives do that are a student of murder. But I was asking about Holcomb, Kansas, and I was like, "Hey, anybody here from Holcomb?" Which is where Truman Capote's In Cold Blood took place, where the Clutter family was tragically killed in 1959. Wow. And I had a table of 4 people that raised their hands. And I said, "Oh my gosh, really?" I said, "Have you been in that house? Because that house looks exactly the same." And they're like, "Yeah."
Really?
And I'm like, "Oh, I need to take a visit to Holcomb, and I need to visit there." I know. I wouldn't mind going there. And so there may be something like that in the future. Let's just put it that way. I'm working on it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, do what? Do what, Stuart?
Barbecue. When you go to the barbecue stuff, I want to do that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I there's places that, believe me, I want to go and I want to visit. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for being here. Like I said, it's been awesome having you here tonight. It's not a show without you. Phyllis, man, you came through tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if I've kind of thought about doing a little subscription thing on here. I don't know what you guys think about it. You'd still get the free version of me. The free version of me is great. I would take my luminol, Steph. You know it. I would definitely take some luminol. And but the free version, you're going to get everything. But I've thought about maybe doing something to where the people that maybe pay just a little bit, that they could get a lot of extra content, maybe some stuff where they could get a little bit more access. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to put up stuff about merch, etc. But until next week, and I don't know that we're going to have a live episode the next 2 weeks. Honestly, I'm going to be. Oh, you have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be driving across this country. I'm going to be getting on a plane the next day. It's going to be nuts. I'm going to be spending some time with Danny. We're going to be in the Great Smoky Mountains. Yeah. We're going to be in the bear country of Gatlinburg area for sure. And so if you're out there walking around Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, those areas up in the Great Smoky Mountains, keep an eye out. You might get a sighting of myself or Danny. And but until then, and don't click off here, Stuart. Just hang on behind the curtain and we'll talk briefly. Check his website out. Check out the book. Bathroom Reader. I like it. I mean, where could you go wrong? It's good information, honestly. And I really do sincerely appreciate you being here tonight. That means a lot to us. And by the way, you can share away on this thing for sure. And hopefully you get a lot of subscribers. Until next time, if I don't do a live one and I can't squeeze in a pre-record, I'm trying. I know North Carolina, they want to do a couple of them while I'm there. If I can't, then I'll throw up a couple of other episodes that we've had in the past, and that's just the way it goes. Thank you, JP. I'll be safe. And until next time, thank you all for being here. Take us out, Amanda.